Let's talk about SD cards. This card here, I'm going to share an experience with you guys. This card here cost me the entire first half of a Super Rugby semi-final. One right error and half the game's gone. This card is brick. It doesn't read in a camera, it doesn't read in a computer, and the worst part about it was only the 5th time that I'd use it.
All right, what is going on here? Insert memory card again. Let's do this. No memory card. Wow.
What I've uncovered has only reinforced why I'll never ever use a SanDisk card ever again. There's a basic rule here. You can have all the best camera, the slicker skills, the storytelling, but none of that matters if you've got a shitty SD card. Now you might be thinking, I've been using SanDisk for years without any issues. So had I, until it failed. And when they fail, they don't just glitch, they fail hard. There's no warning, there's no recovery, and that's what makes them dangerous. But Johnny, why don't you just dual record? Great point. And in most cases I would, but some cameras don't have dual record. And the one I was particularly using that night of the rugby semi-final didn't have a dual record slot. So in a perfect world, yes, dual record all the way. But we ain't living in a perfect world. In fact, before we get into this, I really want to hear about your SD card experiences. What's good, what's not good? Let's build a blacklist together in the comments of all the SD card fail moments. Okay, so this is what you're paying for. This is inside of the card that failed me. It's got a cheap plastic casing. It's got a basic controller chip. It's got zero shielding or reinforcement. It's a snap fit shell, 2 pieces, a write protect switch that can actually break off in your bag. This isn't professional grade hardware. This is what you get for 200 bucks. In fact, write protection switches on SD cards are basically pointless these days. Like, they're a leftover from the early digital era. They're a tiny plastic tab meant to stop accidental deletion, but in modern workflows, they're more of a liability than a feature. The tab is flimsy, it's easily broken, and can trigger false read-only errors that bring your entire shoot to a halt. Okay, so during the process of making this video, I really wanted to understand exactly what went into one of these little chips, and it's really difficult to find anything online about what actually goes in to the componentry of this tiny little chip. In fact, I did a reverse image search of a macro image of this exact chip, as well as poured hours and hours over trying to find information about it, and I just couldn't find anything. There's loads of information online about old SD cards, but we're now in this era where everything is just stored right here. But what I can tell you is the difference in physical attributes about these cards. So the SanDisk is 2 pieces of plastic stuck together, glued together. It's got that switch on the side. It just feels like it can bend, and it's nowhere near as sturdy and structurally sound as the likes of a Sony Tough Card. I even noticed with the Sony Tough Card gets a little bit warmer than SanDisk does, which might sound like a bad thing, but I think the Sony Tough Card does a way better job in dispersing the heat away from the chipset, meaning that in terms of like longer use and the longevity of a card through prolonged use and longer recording time, I think is a lot better. Whereas with the SanDisk card, there just didn't seem like there was any real heat dispersion or any method of controlling the heat within that wee chipset. That's why I think sometimes after prolonged use, these SanDisk cards can slowly break down. So after Trump's tariffs on Chinese electronics back in 2018, Western Digital, which is the company that owns SanDisk, they really had to scramble. Production was moved, costs went up, corners got cut, and for a product that's all about reliability, even a tiny change in soldering or chip quality or the casing glue can be the difference between saved and gone forever. So yeah, geopolitics and trade wars might feel a world away, but if you've lost footage to a failed SanDisk card recently, there's a decent chance it started in a White House press briefing. Now for an extra $100, you can get one of these, which is a Sony Tough Card. It's 1 piece of plastic, no write protection switch, proven IPX rated, and basically bomb-proof. I've been using the Sony Tough Card for 5 years now, and it's never slowed down, never skipped a beat. This is not a sponsored video, there's no sponsorships or anything here. This is just me sharing an experience with a piece of gear I've had nothing but 100% good experience with. Or there's Angelbird, which is made in Austria. Free data recovery, a proper warranty, and cards that are built to handle serious workflows. They even include sustained write speed rating, so you know exactly what you're getting. Even Alexar's professional line, while not quite as tough, has better build quality and reliability than what SanDisk is putting out these days. Because at the end of the day, your SD card is a moving part. It goes in and out of your camera, it gets pushed, it gets shoved into card readers over and over and over again. You need to treat your SD card like it's something mechanical. It's like Having cheap brakes in your car, maybe they work fine in perfect condition, but the moment you're under pressure, a hard stop, a downhill run, or a sudden movement, they're the first thing to give out. And you wouldn't skimp on the one part that stops your car, so why skimp on the one part that stores your footage? This thing has to physically survive your workflow. And SanDisk, it's just not built for it anymore. Again, I'm keen to hear your experience about your SD cards. Let's drop a comment below. Let's make a blacklist of all the shoddy SD cards, because you can have all the talent in the world as a photographer or videographer, but bro, you're only as good as your SD card. See you in the next one.